Welcome to the deep dive. Tonight, we're really zeroing in on the immediate aftermath, the first few hours after the polls close in the federal election.
That's right. And specifically, we're looking at what the initial report said about the NDP and its leader, Jagmeet Singh. Our main source for this is the information compiled in what we're calling our pasted text.
Yeah, election nights are always dynamic, but this one seems to have brought some pretty dramatic, fast-moving news for the NDP leader.
It really did. I mean, the headline almost immediately was that Jagmeet Singh announced he was stepping down as NDP leader. That happened Monday night.
Right, straight out of the gate. And the context, according to our source text.
Well, the text frames it as following what it calls a resounding defeat on election night. It wasn't just, the party's overall picture.
It was personal, too, wasn't it, in his own writing?
Exactly. The reports we have showed him in third place in Burnaby, BC, getting less than 20% of the vote at the time he spoke.
Third place. Wow. Trailing both the conservative and the liberal candidates. That's a tough personal result for a party leader.
Definitely. And it mirrored the projected outcome for the party nationally. Early signs pointed towards a really low seat count, maybe even single digits.
Single digits. The text mentions, I think, that when Singh actually made his speech around 9:30 local time.
Yeah, at that specific moment, the NDP was only leading in 7 seats across the entire country. Just 7.
7 seats. So you can immediately see, for you listening, how that raises alarm bells about official party status. That usually requires, what, 12 seats?
That's the typical threshold, yes.
Yeah.
So keeping that status with all the parliamentary resources and recognition it brings was suddenly looking, precarious.
Okay, so against that backdrop, Singh addresses his supporters in Burnaby. The text suggests it was quite emotional.
It seemed so. He acknowledged the results, the disappointment in the seat count specifically, but he made a point, according to the text, of separating that from the movement itself.
Ah, interesting distinction. What did he say?
He's quoted saying he wasn't disappointed in their movement, and he talked about hope, optimism, and the importance of unity moving forward.
So trying to rally the base even in the face of these results. Okay. But it wasn't all losses, right? The text did mention some NDP wins.
Yes, absolutely. It specifically named Alexandra Boulerice, re-elected in Rosemont-la-Petite-Patrie,
Okay. A known stronghold.
and Leah Gazan in Winnipeg Center, plus Jenny Kwan holding Vancouver East. Again, areas with established NDP support.
So some familiar faces returning. Any really close calls mentioned?
Yeah, it noted one particularly tight race involving a longtime MP, Don Davies.
Oh, right, in Vancouver Kingsway.
That's the one. He was apparently locked in a very close fight with his Liberal opponent as those initial counts were coming through.
So a few bright spots, or at least hard-fought battles, but the overall picture.
The overall picture, based on these early reports, was looking grim. The text suggested that more than a dozen NDP incumbents were actually likely to lose their seats once all the votes were counted.
More than a dozen incumbents gone. Plus, the leader resigning after losing his own seat, and the party potentially down to single digits nationally. That's quite a shakeup.
It really paints a stark picture of the immediate fallout. And for you, the listener, it just highlights how incredibly impactful election night results can be, almost instantly reshaping a party's leadership and, frankly, its immediate future.
Right. So let's just quickly recap what our source text tells us from that night. Jagmeet Singh steps down as leader after a personal loss in his riding and facing projections of a historically low seat count for the NDP.
A count low enough to potentially threaten their official party status in Parliament.
And this happened alongside news that many established NDP MPs were probably heading for defeat.
Exactly. Which really leaves us with something to think about, doesn't it? When you see these incredibly rapid shifts, a leader resigning, party status in doubt, veteran MPs potentially losing all within hours of the polls closing.
Yeah.
Well, what does that tell you about the sheer force of election results? And maybe also about how political movements and parties have to react almost in real time to what the voters have decided. It's a powerful dynamic.